All right, Renowned fam, welcome back to the Renowned Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Morris, and I am excited to bring you today's guest. She is Miss Julie Laughton, the architect for the stars and CEO of Julie Laughton Design. She is an entrepreneur. She's a go-getter. She is a former bigwig executive in New York, and she has an amazing, amazing story and truly inspiring, especially for young women wanting to get into the trade business or the construction, design, architectural, that world. So check her out. She's an amazing person. She was an amazing guest, and I can't wait for you guys to hear her. So without further ado, here we go. All right, my Renowned fam, thank you again so much for joining us this week. And this week, I have a very special guest with me today. I have the architect for the stars, coming from all the way from SoCo, California. I got Miss Julie Laughton. Am I saying that right? I forgot to ask.
You are. Most people get it wrong. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So I got Julie Laughton, who is in fact an architect. I don't know for a fact she's an architect to the stars. I'm going to assume she is.
I have star clients. Cool. I have star clients.
So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Julie, real quick.
Well, I started drafting and drawing and doing that architecture part when I was like 14. So I went to college for architecture, and then I went to college for landscape architecture and interior design. So I got this really well-rounded design background, and I took all that and worked in New York City for the biggest developers in the world for 7 years. And then I came to California and I decided to do residential, which led me to becoming a licensed general contractor. So I provide this lovely one-stop shop to people remodeling and building custom homes.
That is, so you were telling me before the show, you grew up in the Midwest. How does I'm going to assume small town, because most towns in the Midwest are small. So how does a small town Midwestern woman end up in New York City drafting for some of the biggest companies in the country?
Well, it's weird because I grew up in a small town of 10,000 people, and I kind of have a good personality, but back then I was really shy because I'm an artist type. But I went to college at Iowa State, and I kept bouncing around with the major. And the lady, finally, we got my major done, and she says, you need a job in New York City with an architect. And she got me the job for my summer internship, and I loved it. My mom just drove me out there and dropped me off, and I'm like, I know nothing about the East Coast. I didn't even have a bagel before I moved to New York City. I mean, So it was funny because I loved my summer internship, and I went right back and got another job, and I still have all my best friends from that time are still there. And I just fit in because I'm kind of a chatty Irish, Irish English chatty girl. I don't know. I got a big personality, so I fit in.
That's hilarious. You've never had a bagel before you moved to New York? Was that serious?
I don't think so. You know what I mean? That whole thing about the bagel and the lox, and then certain kinds of food I'd never had. It was, to me, I related everything to all the new food I tried. Because, we didn't have good Italian food in Iowa. We didn't even have, we had one Mexican restaurant, no Chinese, no nothing. So it was like the food was the best part of moving to New York, besides the architecture.
That's hilarious. I can't, I grew up in the Midwest too, and that's where I live right now. My wife and I are planning on moving to Florida soon, but get away from these Midwest winters. They're horrible. But but I can't imagine never having I was still exposed to all that stuff, and even in the Midwest, I don't
even remember, like, there were certain foods I remember. We grew up with the Krispies and the different donuts. It's like, I don't know, it was a thing. I just remember there's a certain food, like every morning in New York City, I'd have a regular coffee, which is the coffee with cream and 2 sugars. Is what a coffee in New York is. A regular is cream and 2 sugars, not black, and then a bagel. So that's all I ate every day. Because you're on the street walking to work, taking the subway. So it was funny because that was like my diet the first 2 years. And pizza for lunch, I swear. The slice of pizza.
That's hilarious. You can't beat New York style pizza. There's actually a couple of dudes that just opened a pizza place not too far from where I live in Indy, who came from New York. They owned a New
Oh,
York
that's the best.
pizza place there, and then they brought that same pizza here, and I love it. I love New York style
I could eat
pizza.
it every day because it's so thin and crispy. Oh, yeah.
It's yeah, 100%. It's the best. I don't get Chicago. I don't want to eat my
I
pizza
don't
with a
either. I
fork.
don't understand that much bread. Why would you want to do that? Yeah, I
Right.
never
Yeah.
understood that.
Me neither. I want the thin, crispy. You have to fold it up to be able to hold it
Yep.
because it'll fall if you don't. Yeah, that's real pizza to me. But so I want to kind of ask a little bit of a personal question. If you don't want to answer, you don't really have to. But I mean, let's call the elephants out in the room. That what you do is a very male dominated industry. Um,
Hmm.
well, especially, like you said, you were a shy Midwestern girl, going to New York City, in a male dominated industry. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced, dealing
Well,
with that and overcoming it?
well, in college, I was in architecture and mechanical engineering and landscape architecture. So I was around a lot of guys and engineers and men in my classes, but there were women. But when I got to New York in the office, the architecture firm, I was the only woman in the drafting pool. So I'd have to go out and do all the schlepping and all the measuring and they could do all the stuff they didn't want to do. So they were very polite because it was just a bunch of brains working together. But, me and my personality, the female, with all these kind of straight laced, dudes in the office was kind of comical because they didn't get me. But in the field, it was the 80s. I was wearing that was the outfit, and I was constantly being whistled at the job sites, and I was used to it because I was a lifeguard for 4 years. Like Baywatch swimsuit and everything for 4 years when I was young. So I was used to that kind of attention, but it was the same in the job sites, and it didn't bother me. But it was, it's sexist, but I was used to it, so it didn't bother me. How's that? But I was the only chick around at every meeting and every installation. Yeah.
What so I mean, you didn't even view it, and correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't even view it as an obstacle then. It was just a part of life and you went
Yeah, I
on with
did.
your day.
It didn't bother me, and I took it as a compliment because I've been whistled at since I was 14 years old. Because I was like 5'8" when I was 14, so I was used to it by now, and I took it as a compliment as long as there wasn't anything crude being said. But they also kept their distance because they knew I was there for the design, and they're kind of protected, but yet it was still professional. But it didn't bother me, and I don't know, nothing like that bothers me because I don't know. My dad wanted boys. He had two girls, and not that we grew up tough, but we grew up around men, and that stuff doesn't bother me because I get it, and it didn't scare me or make me nervous. Like it didn't even shine me. It was nothing. I
Yeah,
just did nothing could stop me from doing my job. I was so bent on doing my job good that I was more worried about getting back to the office and doing my job right. So
I love that hyper focused mentality
yeah,
of just, you go do you. And like you said, as long as it's not, crazy, obviously intrusive, like, assault or anything like that, it
no,
just,
maybe
yeah,
I have to.
that's
I have this.
awesome.
Yeah, I have this thing about me where I'm kind of confident, and they don't bother me. Usually, guys don't bother me, and if they do, then someone runs to the rescue. So it's kind of weird. So, and it still happens today. I have all these men around me because I'm the boss of like 50 people, and they protect me and they watch out for me because I have to be loyal, respectful
Mhm.
relationships. So it's worked out nice. It's I think I was born to be a contractor. It's weird.
That's awesome. I love it. And I love talking to entrepreneurs that just they know their purpose. And
Hmm.
I think that's really, yeah, you have a great personality. Yeah, you have all these other awesome characteristics, but I think what makes you a magnet for success for successful people for professionalism, for getting, getting what you want out of life is the fact that you're so hyper focused on your purpose. You know
Yeah.
exactly what your purpose is. You know which, knowing what your purpose is, what your why is,
Yep.
why you do the things you do.
Mhm.
And then I think the next most important thing about your personality is you don't accept the victim mentality.
Oh,
You
oh yeah. I'm telling you, if half of the world, maybe more than half the world, got out of the shame of what they're doing and the victim mentality and just change their way they think to positive, you change your life. There's so many people that live their life as a victim, and all the girls like no, no, no around men. It's weird, but it's not necessary because there are no boundaries, for women. You just like, there are no boundaries in architecture, engineering, and construction. You just have to be good at what you're doing and
mhm.
passionate. So, and, know what you're doing, but there's no real boundaries. I don't know why more women aren't in this business.
I love it. That is great advice. So, and that actually kind of leads into my next question is, if young women or young girls are, listening with their parents in the car or whatever, what advice would you have for them if they think maybe they want to pursue something in the engineering world or the architectural world?
Well, if you're going to go to college, look at architecture or engineering, and then or just go to a trade school and learn about construction. If you actually want to do a trade, that's another option. But the best advice for women in construction is construction management. Learn construction management. You can take courses, you can take classes, you can just get a job. It's not a mystery how to do construction management. It's just organizational skills. And women are good at that. So and it's a much needed thing in the industry, So I always point them towards construction management, project management.
And that's a pretty lucrative career if you get good at
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
I love
I mean,
that.
people don't realize if you swing a hammer, you can make good money these days. And project management, construction management, there's guys out there making $250,000 a year.
Right. But you got to
So
be
it's
good
a
at
lot.
it.
You have to be good at it, and you have to have the experience. So you start at 85,000, and you work your way up. It just depends on how big the company is, and how much you're
Right.
managing.
So you already mentioned, you have I think you said 50 employees working under you. Is
I
that
have
all
20.
architects?
Nope. So what it is I have 24 employees that are full time, and then I have 25 subs. So all day long, it's 50 of us, and that's the construction side of it. But in the design side of it, it's me as the designer and the architect, and then I have 2 draftsmen and 5 engineers, and they have 3 people each. So there's probably 15 or 20 on the design side, and I pay the engineers to do the work. So my plans come with the engineering package, and then I submit to the city, and then I turn into the contractor and pull the permit as the contractor. But I'm 2 people for the client: designer, designer, architect, engineering, and contractor. 2 separate companies tied together with verbiage.
That's really awesome because most of the time, when you want to build or remodel, you have to find your architect and then have to find your
Yep.
contractor. So
And
you're
your
saving a lot
interior
of time.
designer. You have to have 3 people to start with, plus 5 engineers. So that's 3 plus 5. That's 8 people to do a house minimum, plus the pool guy. So then and the AV guy and all this other stuff. But yeah, architects don't do interior design, and interior designers don't do architects. You got to have those 2 and a contractor to start.
Man, I've never gone through this process, so I did not know that. I thought you just
Yep.
needed an architect and a contractor. So, I mean, there's a
Nope.
lot of nuts and bolts. So your company pretty much just is a one-stop shop. They come
Yes,
to
for
you.
real. And what makes me unique is that this one person, does all those things. Whereas you go to another design company and they hook you up with an architect, they hook you up with a decorator, they hook you up with 5 engineers, and then they hook you up with Bob, the contractor. So you're still working with 7 people, but I'm the only one that this one person is doing all the trades because I'm professionally trained and licensed in all of them. So it's kind of fun.
Did you do that intentionally or did that happen by an accident?
And well, I never thought in the beginning I'd be a contractor, but I've been standing in the dirt since I was 21 in New York City making the plans work. And then when the opportunity arose in California, I was like, I never thought, it took me a minute to think, because I also thought it wasn't really possible or doable because I just never thought the girl being the contractor. So I just took the test and I passed and with like 98%. It was funny. And everybody's like, you should have done this years ago. I said, yes, I know. But it was just kind of meant to be. If I would have stayed in architecture and New York City, I would have never become the contractor. But the minute I got in residential, I saw the need to solve the problem for the client and make their work stress free by having one person champion the project for them and stand up for them and do it right for them. Because most people get ripped off if they hire all these people and maybe one of them's wrong. They end up kind of getting ripped off or the project takes long. And there's so many scenarios bad. And I saw a lot of those. So I was just happy to be able to help clients, make it less stress.
So you just nailed 90% of entrepreneurs' problems on the head, that they aren't identifying their clients' actual problems.
Yeah,
And
they just worry about what they can do. Mm-hmm.
exactly. So can you talk a little bit about the how you identified it and the process that other entrepreneurs should go through
Well,
when they're looking?
Well, if you listen to your client or you listen to people in general in your business, they'll complain about stuff that is not solved by anyone else. So be the first person to solve it. Like my clients in the beginning, I came in as the designer and the kitchen designer because I got this job doing custom kitchens. It was my first job in LA. And it kind of led me into, so every job they would complain, my architect takes forever and he doesn't draw the kitchen and he hasn't finished the plans and there's no flooring and colors and tile. He doesn't do any of that. And then they hire a decorator and she spends all the money on the sofa and the furniture and the drapery. And, they were complaining about all these moving parts that weren't servicing them. No one was servicing them. And then the contractor didn't have plans that worked and didn't know what to build. So there was all these problems and I kept hearing the same thing over and over. So I always drew complete plans for them, had them sign them. And then I became the contractor and worked off plans that were actually accurate, that they approved, go figure, and I solved their problem. But everyone I met in the beginning had similar problems. And no one was stepping up to this day to solve the problem. The architect still only does the structure. He doesn't do the finishes. The designer only does the finishes and the furniture. She doesn't do space planning. And the contractor can't function without plans. So I just stepped in and solved it. And it made them stress-free.
I love that. That's great advice. Just listen to your niche, listen to your people, listen to your clients.
Yeah, because if no one else is solving it, you can be the one that solves it. Because some trades and some businesses don't offer that service, and it would take a second to just shift and offer it. I mean, I swear, in our business, people stay in their little categories and they don't actually help. They don't cross over enough.
That's another thing that I think entrepreneurs in general are scared of, and that's pivoting. So, I mean, you went through 3 major pivots.
Yes.
Right. So, and that's what you're talking about when you talk about identifying the problem and then shifting to meet that problem. It's basically a pivot in your business structure. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are scared of that because when they think about, okay, so this is my product, this is what I sell, this is my service. Why, I don't know. Why do you think that's so scary for a lot of people to pivot?
That's because you're going to the unknown. Just like me, the business is maybe not good in one part of your business, but it's good in the everything. And you think, gosh, I really should be over here and not over here. But it's scary because it's unknown and you've never done it, or maybe you don't know how to do it. Like maybe it's a different part of sales or a different part of your service. So my advice is just to get out there and do it, and you'll learn very fast doing it. But everybody's scared of the unknown. and what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, who cares? Just go do it and offer it. Do what you're good at. And because sometimes people don't even know what they're really good at, and they're doing something they thought they were supposed to do, but they're not even fine tuning what they're really good at yet. And I didn't even fine tune that till I was like 40. So yeah, it took me a minute because I was so structured to stay in architecture and interior design, and then I was like, screw it, I need to do what I'm good at.
Right. I agree with you completely. And in fact, it's funny because my listeners are probably rolling their eyes because they hear me say the same thing all the time. If it scares you, you should that's probably the direction you should be going.
Yes.
You should be stepping into that fear.
Step into it. Just jump. It's like jumping into the deep end. There'll always be someone there with floaters. Don't worry. No one's going to let you drown. And that's what makes you learn and survive and strive is the challenge. God, if you didn't have a challenge every day, that'd be so dull. I mean, right. That's the neat part,
Hey everyone, Steven here. As we gear up for the new year, I've got something super special for you today. But before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and ring that notification bell so you can always experience the motivation and inspiration and the tips that we bring to you every single week here. Now let's talk about New Year's resolutions. How many times have you set a resolution only to have it fizzle out by the beginning of February or before January is even close to being over? Well, not this time. I've got a game-changing program that will teach you how to set goals that actually stick and that will propel you towards success in both your personal and professional life. Imagine saying goodbye to the cycle of failed resolutions. Picture yourself achieving what you set out to do, and it's all possible with our proven methods that I've been perfecting for over 20 plus years. We'll be diving deep into the art of effective goal setting. And it's not just about writing down your goals. It's about a strategic approach that guarantees success. Go to renownleadership.com/goals to learn more. And let's make 2024 your best year yet. We only take 25 new goal setters every month, and spots fill up fast. So make sure you get yours today. And for this month only, if you use coupon code Renowned Goals at checkout, you'll get 20% off. Again, spots fill up fast, so make sure you get yours today. So if you're tired of the same old resolutions that never work, join us on this journey. Remember, goals are within your reach. Sign up now. Let's make 2024 your best year ever.
My thing is, when I was young, like 20, got to New York City when I was out of college, 21, and I worked for this 2 architects, and that was fun, and in the office. And then I worked for this lady, Elaine Lewis, who is buddies with top 5 developers. These are 50-year-old men whose fathers were still working, Milsing, Didsing, Lefrecht, Zeckendorf, Silverman. They were sons of the biggest men in New York City. And my boss would have me present all the model apartments to them one-on-one, like just me, and then the developer and his contractor and the architect. And then she'd send me to these meetings without her. Like, she shoved me out of the limo, and I go, aren't you coming with me? She goes, I don't know anything about design. It's all you, babe. So I had to go to all these board meetings when I was like 23 years old, 22, 23, with all these old, scary men, because they were professionals, big builders. And I was in the room, just me, a little girl, presenting things, and then they would accept them and approve them. And I was so happy because they liked my work, but it was scary. And but she just told me, as she shoved me out of the limo, it's sink or swim, babe. This is it. This is how you learn. And she gave me no coaching or prep because she knew I knew my business, but I thought she would go with me, but she didn't. And I had to do the whole presentation myself, and it was just like, oh my God. So that was nerve-wracking, but I got through it. But her thing was sink or swim.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. The most value you're going to get out of life are those uncomfortable, scary moments where you're forced to learn something. And I think nowadays, especially, we're too comfortable. We're too, in the day of Amazon, and we actually don't have to leave our houses for anything if we don't want to.
Terrible.
And it's so comfortable. but you don't grow that way. You don't become the architect for the stars uh, by being comfortable. You do that by getting shoved out of the limo, pushed into the deep end.
Yep.
And I think the most important um, part of your story is the fact you found, whether it was intentionally or accidentally, you found a mentor or several mentors, people that
Yes.
believed in you and people that were willing to do the hard work and do the uncomfortable things. You know, for a mentor, it's really uncomfortable to push you out of the limo, right?
Yep.
That's not necessarily comfortable for the mentor either. Um,
True.
especially considering you represent that person. So,
That's
I
true.
mean,
She knew how I do.
right? So, I mean, can you talk a little bit on the importance of the mentors in your life?
Well, it's just like my mom. They tell me I had an internship in New York City, so she put me in the car. She drove me to New York City from Iowa and dumped me at a woman's hotel, which is a locked facility. So she thought that'd be safe, but little did she know the girl down the hall took me to Studio 54 the first night I was in New York City. So I met my first friends that night that I'm still friends with today. But my point is, my mom's like a mentor because she's like a advisor and a financial planner, and she trains people how to, you know, manage their cruise for Ameriprise, American Express. So she would always talk to me about business and how to act and how to respond. So she's been like a mentor my whole life about how to conduct myself professionally. Because whenever I ask her stuff, and then when I had my clients, and she would, I say, Mom, I'm doing it sales exactly how you're supposed to do it, but this client's acting this way and this client's acting that way. So I would always get feedback because she was training people sales. So it was helpful to have her as a mentor, and then some other people I have come across over the years, including one of my lawyers. We just stuff, common sense, because my personality is A-type personality, ENTJ. I'm very strong, and I have to fix, kind of work with people differently depending on their personality. So all this stuff I've learned, but that was after I was 40, fine tuning my sales and fine tuning my business style and my business, my business model. So it's been a long, fun journey.
That's and you hit another key point I really want my listeners to hear, and that is you were still fine tuning yourself at 40 years old.
Oh
You were fine
yeah,
tuning yourself at 25 years old, at 30 years old, 35 years old. And I'm sure to this day, you're
I'm doing
still
one.
fine.
I'm doing one more thing. Yeah, I got some fine tuning I'm working on this week. I have a woman. I call her a life coach. We talk about, how I behave, because how I behave and how I react affects how my clients behave and how they react, and then same with my employees. So I'm toning down some of my power and delegating to some new project managers so I can actually delegate, because I do a little too much because that's my personality. So I'm delegating. So I'm learning to delegate again, and I have two new project managers, and it gives me space to do what I'm really good at, which is sales and design. I don't need to be texting all day long. So I made some new shifts last Monday.
Right. So, I mean, that's amazing. And again, that's out of your comfort zone. It's always
Oh
uncomfortable
yeah.
when you have to step back and you're like, look, I'm this way and I'm hurting myself being
Yes.
this way.
Yes.
And that's really where I come in a lot with my clients is um it's painful to look yourself dead in the eyes in the mirror, look deep into your soul and see who you truly are.
Yes.
And but that work is necessary because we've already talked about one of the reasons you're so powerful is the fact that you know your purpose.
I
If
know.
we started this show and I said, Julie, what is your purpose? I know you could answer it. Just like, but there's so many people out there. If you ask them what their purpose is, they're just going to either not give you an answer. They're going to give you a crap answer that has no substance
Yeah,
at
they
all.
haven't really found themselves, and they don't know their true self, and they're not honest with themselves. So when you get honest with yourself and you can step outside and look back at yourself, and observe and be an observer, oh, that's powerful, because then you can critique yourself healthy in a healthy way and step out of the way of yourself. It took me a long time to stop being on the front lines. Oh my God. Yeah.
I bet it did. Especially, like you said, you're a very A type personality, which means you enjoy being in control. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
delegating is really hard for people like us because we want to have our fingers in all the pies. But
Yeah.
like I said, that hurts us.
It does. And I had to do it for a while because I was training, and then I finally got two people, and I literally last Monday I literally shifted, and I got this weird feeling because I'm not doing it anymore, and it's just like so weird. I feel like I'm floating. It's like I'm in between a transition. It's weird.
It is weird. So, what was it like going from all these large companies you worked for? Like you said in the beginning, you worked for some of the largest design firms in the country. What was it like going from that to you being the CEO?
Well, the thing is, when I left those jobs in New York City, I moved to California, and then I automatically, through the safety of your brain, you think, let's just keep doing the same thing. So I applied for all these jobs in LA, and no one would take me, or there were no positions exactly right, because they said you're overqualified for what you're looking for. And I never thought about it. So then I ended up getting this weird job. To me, I was selling custom kitchens in a retail store on Robertson Boulevard in Beverly Hills. And now I've never worked retail. I've never worked in a showroom. I mean, it was like, I was used to a luxury office experience, very professional. But I got this job in retail selling custom kitchens in Beverly Hills. And that changed my whole thing. Oh, I'm a salesman. I didn't realize I was a salesman. And then that got me into, I swear, 500 homes. I mean, it seemed like a million homes. And all of a sudden I was propelled into Julie Laughton Interior Design and Custom Kitchens. And I could draw and design, and I got all these clients. And then that got me to Laguna Beach. And then I became the contractor after experiencing these nightmare remodels where I was called in to save people from their remodel experience. So anyway, then I was able to grow the business and then become incorporated. The minute I got the contractor's license, I became incorporated, and then I opened the second business, incorporated, which is the design and architecture. So that was when I became the CEO with a lot of experience on my belt. But boy, it was a game changer. When I became the contractor, it changed my life and my client's life. But it was a lot more responsibility. But boy, it was a game changer. Like, no turning back. A lot more responsibility.
So I want to pull on that thread of working in retail. Did you feel like that was below you?
Oh yeah. I was like, oh my God. But what was funny is that I liked it and I was good at it because I was selling design products, and I was able to design the kitchens from scratch. They weren't like kitchen boxes from Europe, but they were like custom cabinets made of wood with this German cabinet maker who didn't speak English. And we were building custom furniture. So I love that. So that led me into building custom furniture and building custom sofas and doing all custom everything for like 5 years in LA. And then I kind of gave up the custom furniture, but I stuck with the kitchen. And then I met this cabinet maker, Ed, who is still my cabinet maker today, 35 years later.
That's all. But I mean, so I think it's so I really want to stick with this retail space thing because you as soon as you said it, I was like, well, that's a step back. That's a huge step back.
It was weird because I felt like I'm not around my colleagues, my peers, and nobody in that freaking showroom went to college. That's for sure. The couple that ran it was like a really funny couple, but I was forced to turn on the sales ability that my mother said she always knew I had, but I didn't know I had it. But I sold $1 million of cabinets in 1 year, and I got all this attention from all these people from South Carolina. Who's this chick selling all these cabinets? And they drug me down to Newport Beach to design a showroom for them. So I was getting noticed because of my abilities in sales. I'm like, this is weird, but I'm a designer. But it opened up a bunch of new doors, and it really blossomed my personality and my skills.
Right. That's the part I really wanted to hammer on is, you had to take a step back in order to
Hmm.
take the step forward into your present.
If I
So,
didn't take that step back, I wouldn't have my own company because that forced me into that in front of clients one on one. And that's what propelled me into my own business without knowing that. That's how I became a business owner, is stepping down, getting into the retail market, understanding what they wanted. And it just happened.
right. And I think that's something we miss the mark on real heavy in society is we think we just have to go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward, keep going forward, even though you're running face first into the wall every single time you go forward. And then we wonder why we can't get ahead. Why can't I be Julie Laughton? It's because I've never taken the necessary step back. I've never taken the necessary pay cut. I've never I've never done the thing, gone back to school to get that extra degree or all these things that we think are beneath you. That's why I asked that question that way is,
Yeah.
did you feel like it was beneath you?
Oh yeah.
Because
Well, yeah, I did because after I did the kitchen showroom for a year in LA, these guys seriously came to find me and drug me to Newport to design their showroom with my 5 favorite kitchens and bestsellers. So then I moved to Newport Beach, and I worked kind of through the showroom and with some other people, and started getting my own clients. But what happened is I kind of didn't work for the showroom or in the showroom. So what happened is I needed a job because I wasn't associated with the showroom. I just took a chance and moved to Laguna Beach because it was healthier. And so I got a job in a restaurant at night, managing a restaurant, and I increased their profits 10% in the first year. And that's how I paid my rent until I built my actual business. Now
right, so
that's a step down.
right, right. You went from
But
a C-suite executive to managing a restaurant,
yeah, I
which
was
and
a hostess, running the hostess, and I remember I increased their profits and made it more efficient. And they're like, "Damn!" I go, "Well, that's easy." But I worked at night to pay the bills, and then I did my design business during the days. But I'd only did it for a short time. But I was like, "That business is fascinating, but no, thank you."
you're right. Yeah, and I'm not hating on restaurant managers, of course, but I mean, when you go from a high paying, high level
Oh,
executive in an
yes.
architectural firm to running a restaurant, that's a pretty big step down. Like you're jumping down an entire flight of stairs at
It
that
was
point.
it was ridiculous, and I never thought about it because I didn't have a job, because I was knew that I was overqualified, and I'd already kind of been forced into starting my own business. So I was on the way. I'd already gotten my business license. I had started my business, but I needed, to earn money to pay my rent in Laguna Beach. So it was funny because the one guy I worked with running that restaurant is now our city councilman.
That's awesome. Hopefully you're
Yeah.
nice to him.
Yeah, so we are still buddies. Yeah, it's funny.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, I mean, I want to encourage people, for me, I was a pretty high ranking individual in the military, and it was
Oh,
very uncomfortable for me to, when I left the military, to not garner the same respect that I did in the military.
oh yeah.
And it was uncomfortable. It was hard. But again, in my personal journey, it's the same thing. I would not be the CEO of my own company. I would not be doing this podcast. I would not be doing the things I was doing or I'm doing now had I not taken that step back. So, I mean, I think I just think that's such a powerful message, and I'm so glad that we pulled at that thread because I think more people need to hear it.
Yeah, because it's not failure, because everything, if you think it's failure, then it weighs on you, but it's not failure because you need to find yourself, find where you're good at. And I didn't really want help. I mean, there was no one to help me. Like, I didn't have a husband with money, and I was single. I did this all by myself. I bought my house by myself. So it was like a journey of finding me and finding what I'm good at. And I did it. I can say I did it my way, like Frank Sinatra. And I did it, myself. And I really learned about myself. And that was the cool part, because at 40, I started learning, how to calm down and meditate and maybe slow down, because I have this, brain, like a lot of artists, we think too much, but, it was a wonderful journey. And everything they say might be a failure. I consider every failure a stepping stone. It's not a failure, it's a stepping stone to success. You step in the mud, you learn to never step in it again. It's always a stepping stone. Every time you learn something, you're growing. It's the experiences are invaluable.
Absolutely. And as long as I learn a valuable lesson or two from failing, it's not failing. The only time it's a true failure is when I quit because I
Yeah.
didn't learn anything. As long as I keep going and I learn my lessons, there's no such thing as failure in my life.
Exactly. And you have failures to teach you never to do that again.
Right, exactly. And so how do you stay motivated, Julie?
I get out of bed and I'm like a dog with a bone. I want to get my job done. I want to get my projects done. I draw plans which are like a Bible, the plans have all the details, and then we got to build it. So it's always a go, get it done. Don't stop. I like to be the fastest contractor, the most efficient contractor, safe, not fast like bad fast, but I like to not let people down. I like to go to follow the process and keep moving. And there's no downtime. So to me, staying motivated is getting out of bed and going to work. Now, shutting my phone off on Saturday and Sunday is tough, but I've learned to not work on Saturday and Sunday, but I like to get the job done. That's what keeps me motivated.
So you talk about shutting your phone off on Saturdays and Sundays, and that's definitely where I need to grow because I probably work 100+ hours a week, because I need to. One, I feel like I need to, and two, I really do enjoy what I do. So it's not.
That's good then.
Yeah, it's not like it's painful or anything. It's a labor of love. But at the same time, even though I enjoy it, it's still pretty unhealthy to work 7 days a week. I'm aware of this.
You don't get that. You can't shut down because you're constantly giving and you don't get the space to shut down. So just so you know, my little thing is I watch movies. I binge watch on Netflix series, and that's like kind of like a tranquilizer in the brain because you're watching TV. TV does something and it kind of puts you in a beta state. So I just binge watch one afternoon and just really shut down. If I get one day to shut down, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's better for me. But if you're loving it, great. But you'll be surprised how much you'd probably sleep or just, do nothing if you took a day off.
Yeah. Well, and every once in a while, like my wife will be like, Steven, you need to just chill today. Cancel your appointments or just do whatever. Like,
yeah, because you're going like this. Yeah, you're going like this.
Right. And just go chill and relax, play a video game, watch a show, sleep. And usually, right. Usually I end up just sleeping the whole time because I'm always so tired and worn out. But but like I said, my company's new. I'm still building it. So I feel like I have to work. And that's a bad mindset for me to be in. And it's bad for anyone that's listening that's in that mindset. You're in a bad place too, because we're not operating on all cylinders when we're constantly tired.
No, yeah, no, and you get that weird feeling in your head. Then I get kind of bitchy and short, and then you don't make good decisions, Then I want to binge on cookies and cake because I want more fast energy. And I have this thing about sugar, so I took sugar out of my diet 7 years ago. Try that. Oh my God! But it really helped balance out, everything because then I'm not starving all day. Because your brain, when you're going like this, you burn more fuel when you're working and thinking than you do exercising. And I was always starving and hungry. So I had to do this whole thing 10 years ago where I went on like a paleo diet with no sugar, no fast sugars, and cut out the candy bars and the cookies and, the Midwest food.
All the stuff that's not good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I can do no sugar. I hate it, but I can do it. But what I can't do is live without my coffee. I have to have coffee.
I think coffee is actually good for us, and I'll never stop drinking coffee. I think I've convinced myself it's anti-aging. and it's what's that other thing? It's antioxidant. Oh yeah, coffee is not going anywhere.
I think you just caused like 95 scientists to have heart attacks.
I know my skin
Because
looks good, and all I drink is coffee and water.
you look great. But I mean, I think the key there is the water.
Oh yeah,
Water's the fuel of life. But it's funny. Like I absolutely hated coffee.
you did? Oh, how
I
could you?
used to, yeah, because I was in the military all my adult life, so a lot
Uh,
of my adult life I spent in deserts, and it's
oh
hot,
shoot. Oh yeah.
and
Oh
I
yeah.
don't. Last
Forgot
thing I
about
wanted to
that.
drink was a hot drink, so I just didn't like coffee. And then I met my wife, who is all about coffee,
Oh,
and I'm like, oh,
you
that's
got
so gross. Yeah, she got me. Yeah, horrible,
my
horrible.
husband's all about coffee, and my husband used to fight fires and be in the hot like that and burning stuff, and he just to this day he won't drink lukewarm water. It has to be ice cold. He has a thing about ice cold water and hot coffee, and that's all he drinks
I'm
all day.
I'm the exact same way.
It's
I
funny.
cannot do warm water. Mm-mm.
I
Nope.
have this thing about I can't drink cold water because it hurts my teeth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I get like a sensory thing. Like it feels like I'm getting shocked. Like my nerves are. I don't know. I have good teeth, but I can't do it. That happened when I was like 40, and along with when that thing where you
Yeah.
can't see, when you're blind, the old person's thing. Like I have to wear these reading glasses now to actually see 12 inches away from me. So anyway,
So
age,
I want to get us back on track real quick, and we're almost out of time. But you said something earlier that I wanted to pull at as well, and that was you were talking about when you got into the retail space, and then the restaurant space, um, the people you were meeting, and then you got into the restaurant, and then you met a future city council member that you're still friends with today. How important is your personal excuse me, how important is your personal network to you?
I think it's really important because every person that was there from the beginning that actually knows me and my struggles and how I actually am and my work ethic, it's important that I have those people around me to kind of vouch for me and see. I like that they know my weakness. I worked in a restaurant, whatever. I like they know my history, so I can always refer back to my history of people because it's something about like being from a small town. We know my town was 10,000 people. We know everybody. Something about people knowing you and valuing you. I like my network of people that know me and see the real me. So I like my networking of people and my history of
Yeah,
who I've met.
absolutely. I agree, and to me, the phrase "your net worth equals your network" has
Yes,
never
there you
been more
go.
true. And I didn't really realize that until I started my own company. Like, man, I didn't realize how many people I didn't know.
Boy, yeah,
And
it's a ton.
yeah, and that was so important. And then one of the biggest things I've learned is that um my closest people, with the exception of my wife and parents, aren't my biggest fans. It's actually people I've networked with, perfect strangers, a year ago,
Hmm.
people that were perfect strangers. These people are my biggest fans. These people are the people cheering me on, giving me the great advice, pushing me, holding me accountable. Because for some reason they feel like they have a vested interest in my success or whatever. And that's been such a powerful realization for me of, I don't necessarily share my goals and dreams with my extended family anymore. It's my network that I go to for the encouragement. Well, and
Oh,
again,
that's
I'm
nice.
excluding my wife and my parents. But I
Right.
mean that part of my network, pretty much what you said, because they've learned so much about me, and they've worked so closely with me on projects or whatever that they've kind of gotten vested in my success.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a strong network, get one,
Yep.
basically.
Mentors and networking. And the more people you talk to, the more you realize everybody has the same struggles. Everybody deals with things. in the same, everybody's got obstacles. But if you know your personality and who you are, you can deal with them better. But everybody's got obstacles. Everybody listens different, learns different. It's funny. We all go through the same stuff, but it just depends on how we react and survive it.
Absolutely. I agree. So we're out of time, Julie. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for joining us on your drive home.
I'm home now.
I really appreciate
get a better
it.
Look at you.
Before we bounce though, I would love for you to tell people how they can find you, get a hold of you, learn more about you.
The easiest way is just to go to my website, julielaughton.com, and that'll lead you to the podcast, julielaughtonliving.com, and it'll lead you to the other website, Julie Laughton Design Build, where I have my 7 simple steps for a 5-star experience of a lot of different things, including building your custom home.
Awesome. And of course, I'm going to have all our links in the show notes or in the bio, whatever platform you're on. Just scroll down to the bottom and all her links are going to be there. Make sure you bounce and show her tons and tons of love because she definitely deserves it. And once you're done doing that, go to renownedleadership.com. The link will be at the very, very bottom. And go there because your wonderful host, need absolutely all the love. So, Julie, before I let you go, every single guest I have gets the pleasure, if you will, of giving the final word of wisdom. And my final question to you is, what advice do you have for our listeners on how they can lead like champions?
Well, it's always the lead like champions is to be grateful, practice gratitude, set a good example, and just get out there and do it and do the right thing. But it's really gratitude and being humble and respecting all the people around you equally. It's amazing that lovely energy you start to create, and you radiate high energy. And that's how you lead, with good, high, positive, healthy energy. Because, people look up to you. So you want to set a good example.
That is great advice. That's possibly the best advice that's been given when I asked that question. And I agree. Gratitude and integrity. Those are the 2 key ingredients. Have those 2 things and you are going to be a successful leader. Well, Julie, again, I thank you so much for joining me. It has been an honor and a pleasure talking to the architect of the stars. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed myself, and I have a podcast too, so I'm going to invite you on mine. So we'll be in touch, and I really enjoyed my time today.
I'm sold. Just tell me when. I'll be there. Absolutely.
I'll get you on the list.
All right, everybody. So that's going to wrap up this week of the Renowned Leadership Podcast. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go check her out. She is Julie Laughton, the architect for the stars. I am your amazing host, Stephen Morris, founder, CEO of Renowned Leadership, and I will see you guys next week. And in the meantime, don't forget, everybody, lead like a champion. Goodbye.
How I try to sleep, but you're deep in my mind. Got a hold of me. When I'm awake, I'm all blind.
All right, that's going to wrap it up this week, guys. Thank you so much again for joining us. Make sure you go check out Julie's stuff, learn more about her at julielaughton.com. Of course, all our links are going to be down below in the show notes and descriptions. So make sure you scroll down, go give her tons and tons of love. Once you're done doing that, head over to Renowned Leadership and click the Talk to a Coach Today button in the top middle of the screen, and you'll get to go straight to my calendar, schedule a one-on-one with me. And we'll talk and we'll see how we can improve your life together, and it'll be amazing. It'll be fun, and you'll enjoy every second of the process. So make sure you do that. Thanks again for joining us. That's going to wrap it up for this week. I will see y'all next week. And in the meantime, never forget, lead like a champion. Goodbye, everyone.